Okay, so I'm doing the recording right now and sharing the Rhino model. So again, there's probably several ways to do the same thing, but there's a particular. Can you see the Rhino model now, or yes? No? Okay, so
Yeah.
just let me see if this disappears. I hate when this thing doesn't. Anyway, so up here on the new Rhino, you have the SubD. This is kind of a new thing. This I think is quite powerful in terms of modeling organic elements. No, I will send you a link with what you can do with it, but there's a lot of things that they're new to Rhino in this field. So you could start with a simple plane, and it creates like not really a normal plane from Rhino. It creates this kind of a curvilinear form, which is interesting. What you can do is press Control Shift and select faces, and look what happens when you start moving them. So the SubD is basically kind of our organic modeling, which is useful. So what can we do with SubDs? It's like maybe you can start shaping things. If you do, you can start stretching these around in different ways. And I'm just doing Control Shift lines. You can do different things, and you can just pretty much think of it as what curves you have in each of the floors and shape those carefully. But instead of like a loft, which is, curve, 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 and then loft, which it becomes a difficult thing, you're going to use a different criteria, which is the SubDs. You're going to do Control Shift, select some faces, and then there's this option, for example, inset SubD edges. You press enter, and then what it does is creates, let's call it the bubble monster, so that you can do that as many times as you want. Enter and do this, and you can use the gumball and shift to scale this up or down. So you can, and it's always going to be like this kind of a soft little ghost, in that sense. So then you can do also Control Shift, click another face and do the same. Enter, and then move this, rotate it, and up, and then you can do it again, and up. No, again, and as you're working on and you don't like some of the elements, it's very simple with SubDs to modify things. You can do Control Shift to select points and move those points. And what you're doing is basically stretching that softness in different ways, or you can select an edge with Control Shift, scale that, stretch it and move it. You can take it back. So you're basically working with the form, almost like a sculpture element. I think it's a great tool to use, and you can, keep on doing the same. Inset, enter, take it down, maybe scale it down, and do it again. Enter, take it up, scale it up, and then you want to rotate it. So you're kind of squeezing around. Why I think some of these are great, because in your case you have this kind of a two arms, and they're each of them have their own energy or their own kind of a ghost shape. So I think as you model those two arms of your project, you can then edit them in a very nice and organic way. So you just push the forms. You can, you can even do some branching around and do multiple other things.
Yeah.
Take them to the side if that's what you want. I mean, again, multiple possibilities of branching and creating this kind of a soft monster. I like to call everything that is weird a little monster, but I don't know how you want to call it. That's up to you. So, of course, once we get this shape, and I wouldn't be concerned about the corner here. I would just do this as a as an element that I can do a Boolean difference afterwards to keep this straight in the corner. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
these SubDs are not really nerves, so you would just need to convert it into nerves afterwards, which I think is here, convert objects to nerves. So once you're done with this thing, you do convert to nerves. And there's different options. You can delete the original or whatever. There's different options to go through. But anyway, I'm gonna press enter, and it creates
Okay.
your nerves. So this is automatically a nerves. This is pretty much as if you were working with Lost or whatever it is, no?
Yeah.
So that's great because this means that we can obviously get our sections and we can measure things carefully, and we can definitely take it into Grasshopper, which I think will be the next step. How do we deal with this in Grasshopper? Um, well, this is one way. Obviously, there are
Yeah,
many
this
other ways. We can
this seems
probably study
perfect.
this option. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
study this option. Again, there's a lot of flexibility
Mhm.
and so on. And then the question of how do we materialize, the lines of wood. This is like almost like another story. We can start from simple ways of doing this, like apply a material, and it will look nice. Now it would be difficult to get the, let's call it, the fabrication drawings. That's another story. That's a more of a Grasshopper thing. But then we can probably take it to Grasshopper and generate a series of lines and define this. So this path will allow us to see to render this nicely, for sure. Now again, fabrication documents, which I don't know if you're planning to do, that's another conversation that will require Grasshopper and so on. But I think as a beginning point, I think this is a good one to take. Start with the SubDs, model your ghost, your monster, your branching. And
Mhm.
again, you can open some of this. If you do this, for example, select one of the faces and delete it, that also creates a little weird opening that you can select with the lines. Oops, sometimes it's tricky to select things. Maybe that wasn't the thing. Let me select. If you delete any of the faces, it creates an opening here, and you
Mhm.
can do select the face, and instead of modeling faces, you model openings in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is another way of working with this. This is quite powerful.
Yeah.
So you can do all kinds of shapes with the opening instead of with the face. No? So you can do that with this other one, and then I will send a link with how can you use SubDs in very simple ways. And I think it's, you can do any kind of sculptural soft element that I think is what you guys are looking for in easy ways and flexible ways. No?
Mhm.
Okay, so I will probably try different options. Don't stay with one option, of course. There's always a better one that you haven't explored until you explore it, you don't know. And and then you let me know if it's working or not. And if it doesn't work, we can look at other possibilities.
Okay.
Maybe you want to do first the Rhino model, take only the floors and take them to Rhino.
Mhm.
In Rhino, maybe do only the curves of each floor where you want to have the monster appearing. So and then you put in a layer that is locked, no? So you only have those curves at different floors. And then you start creating the monster in relationship to those curves. So you move them, you shift them, you want more branching here, less branching there, etc., etc. And then, if you want to do the material rendering, I would just apply a material that has wood lines and then black and white image associated to the transparency that will tell Rhino or Revit this is transparent, this is wood. No? You have used materials in Revit that has wood and transparent, no? Or is that
Yeah.
okay? Nice. Yeah, otherwise, I can help
Mhm.
you with that one too. But so again, step one, I would say, Revit, select floors. I would probably think of what is that opening in the second floor to make sure you can connect
Yeah.
the whole flow. Once you have that opening, take only the floors and extract or export the floors to Rhino. Bring them at the same
Okay.
scale. In Rhino, I will probably make sure you get the curves by, just I want the curves of each floor only, and you can even delete the floors, or you can keep them there. It's up to you. But it's just a reference. And then do your SubDs. Work with them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you find the magical ghost that goes through those curves, and that definitely is giving you the aesthetics that you want. Once you have that, you definitely want to have the box of the container of your project, so you can do a Boolean difference. So you cut the corner in the front, because that's it feels like you only want one face, and then it hits the corner and it's cut, which is a nice idea. So maybe you need to do a Boolean difference with that. And again, test different options until you find the one you love. And then you have it. You have it in Rhino, which means that you have it in Revit, theoretically. So you will be taking it to Revit. There are 2 or 3 different ways to do that, but probably one of the best is as an SAT or as a DWG. I can send you some links of how to do this. Or I don't know, you're rendering in Revit normally, no? I imagine, or?
Yeah, I'm using Enscape, and then, but I know Asma, you're not, so we need to figure out what we're going to do for our final render.
Yeah, I was thinking if we choose Rhino, would be great, because if we have everything in Rhino instead of Revit.
Yeah, so you have Enscape.
Because if we want to change the way this master gonna go around the building.
Yeah, if you're gonna have everything, you can have everything in Rhino very easily. You just export the Revit model. You can work with the more standard options in Revit and then take it to Rhino. And if you use Enscape for Rhino, it's a very fast and easy way to create renderings and bring your furniture stuff, whatever. Many of my students at Viz3, they're doing Rhino rendering for their final, even though I told them that they could do it in Revit, because they're liking Rhino more to rendering option. I don't know. So but either way, you can go back to Revit and render in Revit as well. So it's up to you where you feel most comfortable and do that. Just remember, SubDs are really, there are different geometries, almost like you have meshes, you have nerves, but now there's a new thing, is the SubD. So whenever you want to do Boolean operations and so on, you need to convert it into a nerve system. Okay, it will be the exact same form, but you really can't. There's a point where, in order to apply materials and so on, you need to just convert it into a nerve system. Okay, so I say we try this, and we will definitely hit different walls, and we can get together again and discuss about how it's going. Okay,
That sounds good.